We have a very, very rare Victory Monday. Pop the champagne, like the video if you enjoy winning more than losing, because I know there's not a whole lot to play for right now, and Brett Rippon might not have pushed the needle much. But hey, I'd much rather beat Trace McSorley than lose to Trace McSorley. So hit that thumbs up icon to start the show. We are going to run through some overreaction, some news, and some rumors after the Broncos Week 15 win against the Arizona Cardinals. Matthew Peterson here with like half of my voice from just celebrating too hard yesterday because it's been about 3 months since the Broncos won in the U.S. But first things first, I want to hit on this news piece right here from Zach Stevens over at DNVR tweeting out, Russell Wilson will be the Broncos starting quarterback next week, Hackett said after the game, which somewhat doesn't surprise me because that was sort of the tone coming out of Mile High. But at the same note, hey, it's not like Brett Rippon was a disaster. And also, not even if Brett Rippon was good or bad, maybe just shut down Russ because the team is eliminated from the postseason. I think the best reason to play Russell Wilson is to hope for him to play well the rest of the season, the next 3 games, and showcase to a potential future head coach, hey, I've still got a lot left in me. Ignore what was a horrible start. Blame it on Hackett. You come here and revive me, Russell Wilson, and we'll turn it around next season. That way you can try and get in the market for a Dan Quinn, a Sean Payton, or whoever the top head coach candidate is going to be this upcoming cycle. But let me ask you this question. Who do you think should start Week 16? Should it be Russell Wilson? Or should it be Brett Rippon? The fact that we're having this conversation is very sad in its own right. But personally, I've gone back and forth. Originally, I was very big, shut down Russ, let him get healthy, let him start rehabbing. Now I've kind of talked myself maybe into, maybe you do have Russ play. Hopefully he plays well like the Chiefs game. And that way a head coach does want to come to Denver. And you do get a good hire. And you're not back to the drawing board in a year or two looking for your 8th head coach in a decade or whatever it's going to be by then. Now, let's move on to some overreactions from Week 15. The first one up, bring back Latavius Murray in 2023. I don't think this is an overreaction, actually. I think it's pretty accurate, if you ask me. Latavius Murray was awesome on Sunday. He rushed for over 130 yards. I think FedEx nominated him to be their ground player of the week. 5.4 yards a carry and a touchdown as well. And since Latavius Murray got to Denver, I mean, he's been the best running back this entire season. Now, that changes with a healthy Javonte Williams, but Latavius Murray, as it stands, has been one of the better Broncos running backs in recent memory, and at least in my opinion. Maybe a bad take, but can you really argue much against it? Because there hasn't been a good stable of running backs the last, 6-7 years, really. Now, Javonte Williams, I want to hit on this right now, is very unlikely to return by Week 1, 2023. Think about J.K. Dobbins. Think about Saquon Barkley. When they came back, they were not ready to roll Week 1, Week 2, or Week 3. J.K. Dobbins, had his second knee surgery this year. Saquon Barkley was a shell of himself his first year back from the ACL tear in 2021 when the tear got back, when he tore his ACL in 2020. The point being, Javonte Williams had a very bad knee injury. And I don't expect him to be ready. He might miss pretty much all of next season. And when he does play, he may not look like the guy we watched his rookie season. So you do need a RB1 for Week 1 and beyond that too. And at this rate, I've got no issue with rolling with Latavius Murray. So I'm going to stick with Latavius Murray for next season. As long as it's a cheap, team-friendly deal, I've got no qualms with it. Now, before we get further into the show, I just want to give a quick shout-out right now to some of the MVPs from our watch party yesterday. We're going to have another watch party this Christmas Day. That's right. I'm not going home. I'm hanging out with you guys. I'm sticking it right here. So make sure to tune in for it. Broncos-Rams. It's going to be exciting, right? Somewhat, I hope, at least. But Elijah Munson was our Super Chat MVP this past Sunday. The most super chats overall came in from Garrett Ringy, a longtime viewer at the channel. Shout out to you, Garrett and Elia. The super chat VP, the vice president right there with Elia, was Mr. Alaska. And then the chief of the live chat, I'm going to give that award to Keanu. So appreciate everyone that tuned in yesterday. Hey, make sure to tune in Week 16 against the Rams. Much better way to take in the game, I guarantee it. Week 15 overreaction number 2. The end of the Brandon McManus era. This one might be an overreaction, but it's not a big overreaction. McManus had a bad miss. He went 1 for 2, and maybe his time in Denver is coming to a close. I like Brandon McManus a lot. He is the longest tenured player on this roster. He's been a staple in the community. He represents the team on and off the field so well, but Brandon McManus has simply not been very good this season. He is 24 for 32, which is 75%, an extra point percentage at 90. I mean, he has not been the Brandon McManus we have seen for so many years. And for that reason, I wouldn't be shocked if George Paton takes a good hard look at his contract and decides, you know what? If we were to release him before June 1st, 2023, there's $2.5 million of savings out there. They just did a very similar thing with Sam Martin. Now, kicker and punter are not the same. Kicker's much more valuable. But if you can have some savings and your kicker is kicking 75%, George Paton is definitely going to think long and hard about this. Now, kicker's a weird position. If you move on from him, you could be kind of like the Chicago Bears. When they moved on from Robbie Gould after one bad season, I bet they probably regret that right now because Robbie Gould has been great with the 49ers. But at the same time, you don't want to hold on to a kicker for too long and have him cost you a game or two early on next season, kind of like Adam Vinatieri. So, my big question for you all, is this the end of the McManus era in Denver, right? Is the last 3 weeks the last we're going to see of Brandon McManus, or do you think, no, the Broncos are going to stick by him? He is way too important to this locker room. They are not going to let one down season, which has been down for pretty much everyone but the defense, be the thing that chases him out of Mile High. Personally, I think it really does ride to the next 3 games. I think these next 3 games are going to be the deciding factor. If Brandon McManus goes out in these next 3 games and he goes, I don't know, like 8 for 8, they kick 8 field goals in 3 games, 7 field goals, whatever, and he's 100%, end on a high note, will boost that percentage overall, maybe smooth things over. But if he goes 3 for 5, ooh, that's going to leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth going into the offseason. And that $2.4 million of savings in the cap, that might jump out to George Paton a little bit. Week 15 overreaction number 3. Crowd revolting. Is Broncos Country making some noise? And I'm not talking getting loud on defense. I'm talking sending a message to this ownership. You better believe it. And I'll explain why in just a second. But Christmas is right around the corner. Hanukkah's already kicked off. So listen, if you are looking for a last-second holiday gift, get this awesome Broncos beanie right now. This great winter hat is on sale, and you will get it before Christmas. So you won't be the Grinch who has to tell someone, I'm sorry, your present's still in the mail, it's on the way. No, don't disappoint someone Christmas morning. Get this awesome Broncos beanie right now. Chatsports.com/DEN beanie. I've got that link for you all in the comments and the description of today's show. So you might have already heard, you might have already seen, but the attendance for Week 15 against originally Colt McCoy and the Cardinals, not good. Mike Kliss tweeting out 75,000 tickets distributed. Only 56,000 were in the house. That's 18,423 no-shows. Gulp is putting it lightly. That's a big fat yikes. All right. Then Andrew Mason, I saw this on Twitter. I thought it was very informative. I wanted you guys to see it as well. I don't have a complete list of no-show counts in Broncos history, but today is one of the largest. Some notable no-show totals. So you got December of 1990 against the Packers, 29,000. Now, a lot of these ones are very due to inclement weather, snowstorm, kind of like the Giants right there and the Chargers in 2019. But today against the Cardinals, or yesterday at that point, 18,000, just ahead of Kansas City's game last year in January, where there was 14,000 no-shows. So there have definitely been some bad attendance records, but this one sticks out to me because it wasn't weather-related. It was simply, this team stinks out loud, right? And Broncos Country is sending a message to Greg Penner and Rob Walton and this new ownership group of, listen, we know you're new here, but we're not going to give you a long honeymoon period. And we're not going to spend our hard-earned money on Sunday paying for parking, paying for concessions, paying for stadium tickets just to watch an offense that manages to score, maybe if we're lucky, 1 touchdown a game. Now, this team put up 3 last week or yesterday, but the point remains, shout out to everyone that was a no-show. Not that I applaud you for it. It's not a good look, but also part of me is a little bit like, you know what? Thank you for sending a message, because the last thing you want to do is tell the ownership, we are sheep. We are sheep, and you can put out trash, bad product onto the field, and we will come no matter what. Because you know what that's going to do? It's going to turn this team into a crappy baseball organization where the ownership can go, we don't have to spend in free agency. They'll come no matter what. We can continue to raise prices, and they will continue to show up. This is sending an absolute message of, you have to get this offseason right and turn it around. Because sure, it's just the Cardinals. That's not going to drive a lot of butts into seats. But I don't think it'd be very much different. If it was Brett Rippon against the Patriots, if it was Brett Rippon against the Bears, the Packers, the Lions, whoever, you were going to have a lot of no-shows this week. And it is sending a big message to ownership of, you have to make some changes, and you have to right what's been a disastrous of 7-8 seasons ever since 2015 at this point. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're going to get you guys the best Broncos YouTube coverage out there. Plus, that way you don't miss out on our watch party this upcoming Christmas Sunday, week 16 against the Rams.